Hey guys, how's it going? Ghostly Richard today, and today we're going to be building a doghouse. First thing we got to do is have some base posts. For me, I had these left over from building the fence for Meekas. You don't have to use 4x4 posts if you don't want to, although they aren't that expensive. You can buy a 8-foot 4x4 post for about 12 bucks, unless you're in the States, it's probably cheaper. Anyways, I had leftover tops from cutting the poles, so first thing I did is I measured from the bottom to here, 1 foot. Right there, bottom to here, 1 foot. Put my marks there. Next thing that I did is I just took my level and connected the marks. Did that on both sides because my saw is only so deep. So I'm gonna actually cut, flip it, and then cut again. This mark, I know that this side is level because this was the top of the post, or as level as I need it to be. So this is going to be my good side, and this is the side that I cut off the top of the posts. So this is my bad side right here. So what I ended up doing was I just did this. So now I'm going to just cut right along here on the line, and then I'm going to go to the other side, do the exact same thing. So to make this nice and simple, if we take a look, we have our board. I was doing some different measurements earlier, that's why I'm using this piece. Either way, I'm doing a basically 4x4, might be a tiny bit over because my 2x4x8s are a tiny bit longer, which is what they should be. So you want to make quick, easy work of this. Line them up completely straight like this, just like that. Make sure your ends are flush with each other. And then what you're going to do is come over here, cut it on top of this board, and then you'll have a perfect line for the next one. Don't repeat this multiple times. Just for each set of 2, measure it out, because every time you do it, it'll become a little less accurate. So off of my foot blocks from the side that I know is even, what I did is I measured 9 inches up on every single block and just marks around it. And this will help for when I'm lining up my 2x4, because the next thing I'm going to do is grab my 2x4, rest it up on here, and I'm actually going to square this up against it. Now what you can do is put 1 framing nail or a screw in each, and then stand it up, level it, and then put in your other nail. You could do whichever way you like if you want it to be 100% accurate, which a lot of people do. So just if you want, tag your 1 screw in there, and then what you're going to do is basically you could either stand it up right away or just tag 1 screw in or get it ready, and then put your level on the board and then smack your screw in. As you can see, we're damn close, and that's good enough for me. Next thing you're going to do is, I know this is a flat surface, so clean underneath it. Just line it right up so I know it's flat on the edge. Bring it over here, and that's all you need. I'm just doing 2 at a time right now. I can brace it later. I just want to get my main structure up. So for me, I wanted to have a little bit more structural support around the edges. Not that I'm too worried about this, but still, I had some extra 2x10x10. So what I'm going to do is actually cut these down. So I'm going to have 4 blocks, which is going to help me, 1, for having area for the walls to attach, and 2, gives you more smooth area to work with. Also saves me on some of the 2x4, although I have a ton of it. So right now, I'm just going to rip off my 2 cuts just like I did before, stack them, make sure they're lined up perfectly on top of each other, rip them, then rip in the holes that were created by the blade. If you take a look, what we've done, we have 2x10x8 cut in half, 2 of them, and 1 2x6x8 cut in half. And by doing that, it builds our platform. It's nice and smooth, great for the dog. So after I quickly nail this down, the next thing we can do is we can build our walls. And I like to build my walls individually, so we'll build that wall. And then this one, we'll have the door, and then we'll build the wall there, and we'll build the wall there. We're going to test fit everything. We're not going to screw anything down in here because we will never get the doghouse out of here. But what I want to do is build my walls. That wall is going to be a little bit shorter than this wall, because what I want is the roof to go to the side for water and snow buildup, so that way as it melts, it drips off the side. I don't want it to drip to the front or the back, but to the side. So screw these down and then we'll start building walls. So I showed her platform. That is sturdy as heck now. Next thing I'm gonna do is build the first wall. So the first wall, I'm just gonna take 2 of these 2x4s again, split them in half, and then after I cut them directly in the center, I'm just going to make the first wall. I'm actually gonna need 1 more 2x4 to go right in the center, but we'll do that after. So I ripped off this wall really quickly. Again, this is the same. Cut the 2x4 in half. So half a 2x4, half a 2x4, half a 2x4, half a 2x4, and a half a 2x4. And then I just framed it out. This is not screwed into there because it would never fit through your door. Or maybe it will if you're building this in a big garage. But it would be extremely heavy. You should assemble this where you're gonna put it. So right now, just to show you, right there, you put your bottom cap, then you put it on the inside, in the middle, inside, and then same up there. Put it on the inside, in the middle, inside, and then that'll give you a little bit more height. Now this side, I'm gonna make it so it's only about 3.5 feet. And the reason why is if I do that, then the doghouse will have a slight slope, which is what I want. I want the doghouse to have a slope. Bottom piece, super easy. Cut it like you're used to. Cut a 2x4 in half. So you have the bottom and then you have the part going up because that's what we did there. You have your first L. This one, cut it at 3 feet like we did before. Next, this top piece, I cut it at 44 and then I put my saw at a 20-degree angle and bam, it'll fit just like that. So I can frame that in. Next thing I'm gonna have to do, and again, I have to kick this wall still in a bit on the bottom. It's on a bit of a slant. But next thing that you're gonna have to do is mirror that over here. And that way, in the back, next thing we're gonna have to do is cut a center support. We'll measure from the center up to the top, put that same 20-degree angle, bam, put it right there, screw it in. And the front, we're gonna do 2 measurements because you're gonna have 2, 1, 2, and then we'll drop our center board in to set the height of the dog entry. 4 side pieces. Just so you can see here, you have a 3-foot piece again. You have your 4-foot piece, and then our in-between pieces, because they're a bit smaller, this one is 41.5. Up here, this one, we cut it to, if you take a look here, 44. And then we, after cutting it, we put a angle, 15 to 20-degree angle in there, right here on the tip of your 4-footer and the tip of your top board, so that way it sits flush. That's all there is. We didn't bother here because the roof's gonna cover it anyway. If you're really in particular, you could slant this and slant that too. I'll leave it up to you, but this is all I needed. Next thing you need to do is measure your center board, which you would go like this. For me, I'm gonna have to go right here because the center there. So I measured the 42, and then what I did is I just skimmed off a little bit more than 42. So let's say 41 3/4, slid it into as center as I could get it. If you're a little bit off, whatever, it's a doghouse. And then just nail her in or screw it in. After you do that, on one side. Now the next one, we're gonna have to have one longer one. So you're gonna go again, right here. So what I did is I've marked for a 2-foot opening. So I measured to center, and then after I measured to center, you can see here, I measured to center, and then I put it on the 1-foot mark because I'm gonna have a 2-foot door. And if you take a look there, then I marked that 2-foot and one at the start of the tape measure. Now I'm gonna come over here, measure from here to here, which is about 45.25. So I'll probably cut it at 45.5 and just shim it down till it sits right about where I want it. Come over here, do that same measuring style, just come over here. Here I've got 38. So what I'm gonna do is probably cut it to 38.5. keep shimming it down until it sits right where I want it. Screw it in, and then what I already have a spare piece that I had earlier, which has disappeared, so whatever. And it's a 2-foot cut piece.
Oh, it's right there.
Right here. And then that will go in between the two boards, here and here, or well, it'll be up here more, and that will frame out your door. And then, after we do that, we've put that all together, I'm gonna frame out the roof, we'll bring it upstairs, nail it all together. That one was 45 and a half in the center, but it's like 45 and 3/4 to the tip. So you start your cut at 45 and 3/4. Over here, it's 38 to the corner. I'd probably go a little more. As you can see, I was a little off, so probably go just under 38 1/4. And then, of course, 2 feet is the center. That's it. Nailed. All I did is, after we've gotten that far, I assembled it. Next, we're going to quickly make this roof. And then I have to go buy some plywood to put on the outside. Then you can either paint it. I'm going to have a shelter over top of this. I'm putting a quick shade, so no rain is actually going to ever get on this, but I'm still going to probably put some roofing tile on it, just so that way it's on there. So if you take a look here, the next part is we're basically going to come along right here. I'm going to make the roof come off of right here. So the roof structure is actually going to pass it. Like, it's actually going to get mounted to right there. As you can see, it's going to go over top of this, because my plan is to overhang it a bit. So if I've got this right, we are going to do 5 feet about. So 5 feet is the new measurement. So build a box like we did at the bottom. We're going to do 5 feet. And then we want it to overhang just a little bit. You could have it suck up, but I probably wouldn't. So we're going to just do 5 feet by 5 feet. So 5 feet, make a 5 foot by 5 foot box. And then we're going to put some trusses in the center. So that way the trusses can sit on here. And you can either have it so you can remove that roof, so that way during the summer the dog has lots of circulation. Or you can have it so it just stays on all year long. Leave it up to you. If you do decide to, just you'll have to get inside the doghouse. Someone would lift it, you and another person would put it on. They would hold it, and you would have to go around from the inside and screw it just so it's secure. I mean, it's going to be heavy, but you just don't want it blowing off if your dog's on the inside. So you could have it removable if you'd like. So just make a 5 foot by 5 foot box. Then we're going to put some top pieces on that are so it's flush. And what's going to happen is then we're just going to plywood it, and then we're going to roof it. Let's go build it. So if you want, you can actually add more supports if you'd like. I'll show you what we did. We did literally every piece in this is 5. So all you do is you cut it out all at 5 feet. So if you get 10 by 5s, sorry, 2 by 4 by 10s, you just cut them all in half. So if you take a look, bam, bam, bam. Took like 7 of them, I guess. That's what it would take. And so you can see inside, inside, outside, outside, and then slip these ones, but lay them flat because it's going to act like a box when we slide it on there. So let's go ahead and slide this on top, take a look, and then it's time to go grab some plywood. I might just leave mine like that, where it's got a little bit more overhang there. So that way, it's just got a little bit of a shed over there, and then it just hooks onto that edge. And again, if you want to make it removable, this is the way you would do it. Just slap it on like that, and then you go inside and then just tie it into your supporting beams right here. And you'll be able to see that from the inside. And after you do that though, that is it. Time to go get some plywood. We're going to plywood this, then put roofing shingles on it, plywood this, and then if you want, you can paint it to protect it. Or you could, if you want to go super dope, you could do cedar, like your fence panels with tongue and groove. Or your house siding is another option. You can go buy siding pieces, and that is totally an option. But for right now, I'm just going to go down to the lumber store, grab roofing panels, plywood, and maybe some spray paint. And that's it. Oh, another thing. If you want to, like I said, you could plywood the inside too and put insulation in these walls if you want to do that. Some people even just spray foam it and then put a guard in there, or use styrofoam, cut them to the size of this, slide it in the center and board it. For me, it doesn't get cold enough here for me to warrant doing that. So what I'm going to do is, and a lot of people do this too, you take a halogen light bulb and you just mount a halogen light bulb inside on an extension cord, and it can't be LED because they don't put out enough heat. But again, halogen light bulb right there in the center. You could get one with a cover if you want to, and like that. And all it'll do is give that little bit of heat on the inside. And that's all you need. Again, this doghouse is intended for my German Shepherd long hair. If you've got like a short-haired pit bull or something, I would highly suggest insulating it and doing the light bulb, just because your pit bull is going to get cold. So I measured my first piece, and it's 4 feet. And then it was a different measurement to the side, which is 4.5. So what I did is I measured, 40.5. From there to here, 40.5. Mark top, a little bit up, middle, a little bit up, and the end. And then I put a 2x4 across, lined it up with all the lines, and then etched it with a pen. Now I just take my skill saw, cut it right across, and go frame it in. Perfect. So that's the first piece. Next, we'll do the other. Now, one thing I'll say to you is to use this, don't use the particle board. That looks like beaver puke. That's what we call it. Where it's literally a bunch of shavings and wood. Water touches it, it's dead. This, you might get a little bit of mold, but what you can do is if you cover it, you're fine. Just make sure you maintain it, paint it, do something with it. Shoot it with a color. If you really want to, add siding if you really want to go that far out. This side, for this board, it's 4 feet. So you don't have to cut it again, lengthwise, by 52 and just a little under 3/4. Like just, you could try 3/4, and if it's a little bit too much, you just might have to shim it a little bit under. Next one are the fun ones. So these ones, we're gonna have to cut on angles. So if you want, what you can do is a square piece, and then cut it on an angle to take out the extra. So if you measure right here, on the edge, you can go deeper if you want. It's just 49. So we need to cut it 2 ways. It's going to be 42, unless you want to go out farther. I'm not. I'm just going to the inside right here, because that's all that really needs it. You could go to the edge if you'd like, but either way, as you can see here, we are looking at 42 by to right here, which is, sorry, not right there, a little bit more in, and it was just past 4 feet. .42 by 51. Perfect. All right, so the first measurement I wanted to do on this board was our first measurement at 50 3/4. So I put that right here and I put a mark. Then what I did is I measured from there to here at where I thought it might be, but it was 42. So 42 is right here. So then what I did, so after, because that's the width of our doghouse, 42. And then I measured the other side, which is our slow side. So from here to here, and that was 38 3/4. So 38 3/4, 42, which is the width. So what I'll be doing is basically tracing it out. I'm gonna have to mark this out, because I'll rip up here, cut this piece out. And then I'm gonna put a 2x4 from the edge, right where that mark is, to the edge that goes right here on the center of this cross mark, trace up towards it, and that's my slope. So I cut my slope this way, and then I will have already cut this, so it'll just, then I have that whole piece. That's how you get your slope. Now, if yours is big enough, what you'll be able to do is use the other side as the slope for the other side. So that way you only have to cut the slope once. So, just for an example, just so not losing. Now, this isn't long enough, but I'll get another 2x4 and it'll go from here. And imagine if it was one piece, because you don't want two, and it went like that. Now you can trace from there to here and then down, but make sure it's one and make sure it's a straight piece. If you use this, it's not going to be straight. Okay, perfect. What I did is I measured down 17. Over here, I measured 5, as you can see. And then what I did is I already had that slope from the other side from that board, and it wasn't long enough to go all the way down. But that's fine, because it's enough to do them, just not enough room for the doorway. And we don't need the doorway anyway. So we're gonna add those pieces on later, and I can always caulk it, which is also gonna happen. And then the next thing that I did is I wanna caulk all the openings. 34 by 9, and that's 2 of them that you need. So again, you just wanna measure this. I would suggest, yeah, just looking at that, say 34, because you can always overlap these boards a little bit. 34, and then this is 9 inches wide here. So cut 2 strips of that, we'll nail them on, then we can start on the roof. As you can see here, sometimes the saw is just, it ate a little bit more on this corner. So what I did is I put in some 2x4 from behind and nailed it in. Not with my hand back there. First I got it from right here and then I nailed it in. Closes the gap. Another thing I'm gonna do, like I said, is I'm gonna throw some caulking in here. Probably some wood glue, just to get it nice and nice looking. If I use some caulking, then yeah, I'll just paint it later. That's the plan. Paint it, make it look a little bit more pretty. But if you really want to, once you have your plywood on, later on, if you're like, you know what, I want it to look like my house, you can go find your siding like that, and you can mount siding on this. So when you're cutting your boards, so you have a instance, make sure you find, if you have edges like I have, that it's not right there, it's on the side. You measure, I know it says 63, and then it's by 5 feet. So you need to take your board, and we're gonna have 4 feet, a full 4-foot board, one way. Or what you can do to make it a little easier on yourself is you can saw your board to 2.5, so that way there's a seam in the center. It doesn't matter though, because you're putting roofing shingles over top of it. From this point, we have our 5-foot piece by 4 feet. Sorry, our 4-foot by, and then we cut it at 5 feet. Now, next thing we did is with the leftover pieces off the board, we did 15.25 basically by 30, and we did 2 of them. So now we're actually going to do this with 3 pieces of plywood, not 4. If you want to, you can cut that. We don't need to. So this is good. Next thing to do, open up our shingles and let's shingle this roof. All right, so on the bottom of our roof, as you can see, what I've done is I've hammered them like this, where this first patch right here is gonna be our starter shingle. So we're gonna actually cut off all the excess right here and leave this right here. So if you have a good pair of scissors, go ahead and do it, or you can fold it back and forth or rip the paper, but I suggest scissors because it's a little easier. So cut this one first, then cut these tabs off, just like that. And then save these for later if you'd like. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on our first shingle, and we're going to be staggering them, and that way these seams don't get any water in them. This should pretty much explain a lot of it. So as you can see, I've staggered it, and you see this glue line? You want to be just below that glue line. So that way, that's where the shingle sticks to. See this tape? They're really annoying tape. You have to take that off so it sticks down as you do it. So next thing you're going to do is take the next shingle and go ahead and do it. What you can do is cut the axis off, and you could just use the axis to start the next, or you could continuously just keep doing your same staggering. So that way it's always staggered, and that'll always cover up the center line. As you can see, our roof is done. What we did is we nailed all the way up, and then we grabbed the last ones, we trimmed the whole back end pretty much off. But we nailed it, and if you look, we actually folded it around and nailed it on this side, so that way that we have a back cap. Now you can actually buy caps to go on here if you want. We just wanted to do this. Now the next thing we're going to do is attach the roof. After we attach the roof, Again, screws or whatever you're gonna do, just make sure they don't come up through the shingles. So make sure they're short enough if you're gonna do that. So just lift the roof on, get it up and in there, and attach it how you want to with some short screws. Remember, 2x4 is 1.5 inches, so 1.5 inches, and if you go through two 2x4s, so 3 inch, no longer than 3 inch screws or 3 inch nails. Otherwise they'll come through your shingles. All right, and you have your plywood to back it. So lift your roof on, do that, trim this all up, and then if you want to put siding on there, you can put siding on yours, but I'll show you the finished product here in 1 second. So there it is. As you can take a look, I've got an all right line going on here. My plan is to put a cap on here in the end, just to clean it up a little bit. Put a cap all the way around probably. This thing is massive though. Like, let's grab this light. Been going crazy for the dog. Just put this fence up, built this. Next is to build her a shelter. So this area is covered too. So I had a couple misses. I got to bang those in so that way she can't poke herself on those. But other than that, there is a lot of room. Like, I'm 6'2", and I can sit in here comfortably. And it's very sturdy. That's what we were looking for. Again, go through. If there's any exposed nails, bang them down. I can't see her banging into these, but last thing I need is a high vet bill. But on top of that, don't need a hurt puppy. But other than that, we're good. Thanks again for watching. I hope this gives you some ideas about your doghouse.